Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Russian banks have asked Russia to continue buying gold. Let's explore. Yes, this comes to us from Reuters.com, and it is a Russian banks have been asking the Central Bank of Russia to resume buying gold for its reserves, with exports of the precious metal hobbled by the coronavirus outbreak, their lobby group said. The country is the world's third largest gold producer after China and Australia. With the almost global grounding of passenger flights, which were used to transport the metal, has meant that banks who buy from producers before selling the metal have to switch to a decreasing number of more expensive cargo flights or build up inventory. And it does make sense. Russia's central bank suspended gold purchases, and I reported it here, on the domestic market starting on April 1st. They didn't give a reason. However, analysts have suggested it is focusing on foreign currency sales to support the ruble, which has fallen in line with lower oil prices as the virus spread. You know, the comment section of the prior video, that was one of the things that probably people suspected, is that, the ruble's in trouble right now. Vasily Zobalovsky, the head of the National Finance Association, a non-government lobby group of Russian banks, told Reuters that banks are facing problems exporting gold as there are also fewer cargo flights and transportation costs have doubled. Yes, it's ironic considering how domestic flight costs have probably been cut near in half, and probably if not more, for some of these domestic flights for passengers. In this situation, banks will have to either refuse to buy gold from producers or to increase the amount in the vaults. Russia's central bank declined to comment on Tuesday, but has said previously that a further decision on gold purchases would depend on how the situation on the financial market develops. Russia produced 10.1 million ounces, which is 314 tons, of refined gold in 2019, of which 5.1 million ounces were bought by the central bank, and 3.7 million ounces were exported mainly to Britain and Switzerland. I reported on that as well. The top market for global gold trade. The central bank reduced its gold purchases in 2019 to support exports, but remained the largest buyer of gold produced in Russia. Its gold reserves stood at 73.6 million troy ounces, and the value of 121 billion as of March the 1st. Now think about that for a moment. Its gold reserves, they have 73.6 million troy ounces, which is a lot of gold, valued at $120 billion. That's a drop in the bucket compared to just the recent stimulus or relief package passed by the Congress. In fact, as of today, they're saying that the Small Business Administration loans that have gone out will run out. That money will run out by the end of the week, next week. So it's kind of scary to think about, how much economic activity there is, and really how little the gold market is when you think about it. The entire gold reserve of Russia is valued at $120 billion. Wow. Maybe that shows how gold is undervalued compared to everything else, because what can happen in the span of a week or two, there's $2.2 trillion created by an act of Congress, and how many other $1 trillion are being pumped by the Fed? Just out of thin air. Thin air. It's crazy. The bank's lobby group also plans to ask the central bank to start accepting gold pledged as collateral for the refinancing of banks' debt and organized gold swap deals, which provide ruble liquidity to the banking market, Zablotsky said. Russian gold miners are relatively unscathed so far, hoping that demand for Russian bars will remain healthy in London due to a number of suspended refineries in Switzerland. I do not see any drama in this, said a top manager of one Russian gold miner. However, bankers shared their concerns of their union. There is a bottleneck, said a source at one of the top Russian banks in the gold trade. Even with high fares, it is hard to find the aircrafts. And I think that is interesting language and very accurate, by the way, too. What is a bottleneck? Well, bottleneck implies that it's a narrowing of the supply chain. Does not mean that there's not much, does not say anything about supply. Gold is still being produced, or can be produced, or will be produced, if not for this situation that has arisen with COVID-19. But the big problem now is getting that supply to the Russian banks and to everywhere else, even to you and me. Supply chains have been hit all over the place, and that demand is being pushed on it, causing premiums to go up. And we even mentioned that as well, too, in terms of travel costs. Cargo travel costs have doubled. Same situation there. An industry source said the bottleneck would likely become more noticeable throughout the entire trading chain in the next week or so, with the backup spreading to the refineries. I cannot imagine how they are going to untie this knot, the source said. And so this thing is definitely spreading out, and that was from the 7th, and this article here from the 10th, which was yesterday, says a Russian central bank turns attention to banks hit by slower gold exports. Russian central bank is considering how to help the country's commercial banks with gold storage after complications with bullion exports because of the coronavirus crisis. Gold exports from the world's third largest producer behind China and Australia have been hit by the grounding of passenger flights, while domestic demand has been curbed by the central bank's decision at the start of the month to suspend its gold purchases from banks, a banking lobby group said this week. There are difficulties, the central bank's governor, Elvira Nabiulina, acknowledged in an online briefing on Friday. Banks tell us that it is harder to export gold because of transportation and logistics problems. It's a bottleneck we were talking about in the prior article here. We are now working with the banks on the issue, including an opportunity to use vaults, she said without elaborating. Some Russian banks hope to have a meeting with the central bank on the gold exports issue next week, two banking sources told Reuters. The central bank had 73.6 million troy ounces of gold with a value of $120 billion in its reserves on the 1st of March. It remains unclear when the central bank would resume gold purchases and why it stopped them. The move had nothing to do with the foreign currency sales, a reason some analysts suggested previously, as the central bank buys gold for rubles, Nabiulina told the briefing. Russian banks normally buy gold from miners for export or for sale to the central bank. So Russia produced 10.1 million ounces, 314 tons in 2019, which we talked about before. 5.1 million of those ounces were bought by the central bank, and 3.7 million were exported. As we noted, that went mainly to England, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and Switzerland. And there you have it. Fascinating indeed. That just goes to show you now we knew it was probably going to be temporary, but it has been asked to resume, but we don't know exactly when that will take place in summation there. Very interesting. And it just goes to show you logistics plays a part, and is playing a part for all of us too. A lot of our orders are being delayed because of delivery issues related to this. But this shall pass. All of this shall pass. And what will the world look like after it? Who knows? And we'll certainly keep an eye on it. And but nonetheless, one thing that won't change amid the changing situation in terms of price and even how it's valued in a sense, but the actual metal itself will live on and press on. But I believe gold is being valued a lot more nowadays in terms of people, because the old saying, if it's very, very abundant and available, the price is low, well, people don't tend to want it and crave it as much. But it's highly desirable once the metal becomes hard to get and is more expensive. That's what we're seeing as of late. For all of those who've been accumulating the precious metal and diversifying, boy, I tell you what, I think this is the third year that I've started to really focus more on gold. And boy, I'm glad I did that. But silver stackers too. And can expect probably the same type of action. And we are starting to see it now already with the supply chains, because even the silver separation from the paper price has been even greater than the gold. So people are starting to wake up to silver as well. So there you have it. Post your thoughts below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching. And stay safe out there and stay healthy. Continue to practice the recommendations to continue to keep that distance more than 6 feet. Make 6 feet be the minimum if you can. Wash your hands for 20, maybe even 30 seconds. And stay safe out there. Stay at home if you can. And let's all be safe. Get through this together. I'd like to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.